Is college worth it? How do economists know whether what they are saying actually reflects the real world? To better tie economic ideas to the real world, we need our third principle, empiricism. I'm Professor John List, and this is Economics for Everyone. Our first two principles, optimization and equilibrium, helped us to describe the world theoretically. To better tie those concepts to the real world, we need our third principle, empiricism. Empiricism is simply using data to analyze the world and test economic models. A question such as, is college worth it, involves empiricism. Empiricism is the heart of the scientific method, the ongoing process that scientists use to understand the world. It has two steps. First, develop models of the world, and second, evaluate those models by testing them with data. The last step is what we are referring to when we say empiricism. But before getting there, let's consider, what is a useful model? I find it useful to think about my childhood when thinking about models. When I was in grammar school, every year for spring break, we would pack up the car in Madison, Wisconsin, and drive to Orlando, Florida. Without fail, we would get lost along the way, usually around Georgia. Back in the late 1970s, we did not have GPS. So what did we do? We pulled into a gas station to buy a map. I still remember the first time my dad walked out with a flat map. "Hey, Dad," I said, "the world isn't flat." He responded with something along the lines of, "But a globe won't really help us now, will it, son?" Even though flat maps are unrealistic, they are quite useful because they get you back on track, and you can store them in the glove compartment of your car. This lesson teaches us that a model is a simplification. It's a simplified description of reality. You should also be aware that sometimes economists will refer to a model as a theory. The two are typically used interchangeably. Given the complexity of the world, economists don't expect to generate a perfect model. However, economists do expect to identify models that are useful in understanding the world. The key to any model is that it yields testable predictions or hypotheses. Testing models with data allows economists to separate good models from bad. Good models are models that make predictions that are mostly consistent with the data. Think about our question at the opening of this episode. Is college worth it? Some economic models predict that every year of education yields 12% more in income. We can test that theory. Recent empirical work shows that a college degree, which is 4 years of education beyond high school, actually increases income by 57%. So the model's not too far off. On the other hand, a bad model is overwhelmingly inconsistent with the data. So what do economists do when the data indicate that a model is a bad one? Let's consider the case of loss aversion, how people feel about gains versus losses. The standard economic model predicts that gains and losses are viewed in a similar way. For instance, the pain of losing $100 is roughly equal to the joy of gaining the same amount. But through empiricism, scientists usually find that individuals perceive the psychological pain of losing $100 is far greater than the joy gained from receiving $100. This is actually a direct rejection of standard economic models. When a model is determined to be inconsistent with the data, economists cycle through the two steps of the scientific method, develop new models, and then test them empirically. This allows economists to move towards better models of the world. And this is what happened in this case. Behavioral economics arose producing a model called prospect theory. Prospect theory effectively combines economics and psychology to explain loss aversion. Such behavioral economics models are now at the forefront of our understanding of how people perceive losses versus gains. And then, of course, we went and tested these new economic models. And what we find is that they do a pretty good job of explaining everyday behavior. Of course, there are constantly bells and whistles added to the model, but this is just a sign that the scientific method is working well. You now know our three principles: optimization, equilibrium, and empiricism, because economics is for everyone.